Okay, so I think we can probably get started there now. So hello everybody and welcome to today's webinar, Exploring Mentorship Through the Lens of a Professional Basketball Player. So our Zoom webinar screen is split between panelists who are all on video. The remaining attendees are not on video, but they are able to use the chat or Q&A feature here on the Zoom platform to ask us questions. So the four panelists that are on video are the following: myself, Ashley Hammond, Regional Coordinator for MentorAbility in Newfoundland and Labrador and Prince Edward Island. We have two ASL interpreters here today, Karina Burris and Shane LeBlanc. And our guest speaker, Carl English, former professional basketball player, Team Canada member, and author of Chasing the Dream. So before we begin, I just want to highlight a few quick housekeeping items. For those of you who don't know, MentorAbility is a nationally supported employment initiative that offers education and awareness to be shared between employers and people experiencing a disability in Canada. It offers a unique mentoring experience for individuals with disabilities. Myself and my colleague, Marcus Jamieson, are the two regional coordinators for MentorAbility Atlantic. I coordinate Newfoundland PEI, and Marcus coordinates the program in Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. So today's webinar will be about 90 minutes in total. Attendees are welcome to ask questions using the Q&A features built into the Zoom platform, which I will keep an eye on throughout the webinar. If you have any technical issues, please let me know via the chat box and I'll work with you to help resolve any issues you might have. Lastly, we do have another webinar coming up on Thursday, August 27th, where Megan Marshall and Justin Somerton will be joining us to discuss the social nuisances in the workplace for individuals on the autism spectrum. So if you're interested in learning more about that, feel free to send myself an email or Marcus and we'll provide you with some more information. It's also another free webinar as well. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Carl. He's going to be joining us today to discuss mentoring and the role that it's played throughout his professional basketball career. So we're both really excited to have Carl here with us today. So Carl is a former professional basketball player and Team Canada member for over 10 years, and he's also the author of Chasing a Dream. He's been recognized as one of the best Canadian professional basketball players and has seen success in many leagues, including the GBL and ACB. Today, he works closely with CE23 Academy to share his journey and knowledge that he's gained to future basketball players here in Newfoundland and Labrador. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce it over to Carl.
Hi, thank you, Ashley. Hi, guys. Bear with me as I'm talking to the computer, so it's kind of strange for me. I'm going to tell you, take you on a little journey of my life, where I've been, the things I've come, and the people who have touched me and helped me and mentored me along my ways, and also some situations that were not always pleasant, kind of led me down the wrong direction. So let's start, I guess, when I was I'm defined a lot by my past. So when I was 5 years old, I was faced with an incredible tragedy, and I lost both my parents in a house fire. Me and my four brothers, we got separated to different aunts and uncles. I guess the biggest thing with that is at that time, you don't really realize what you're living. You know, you're basically living in a nightmare, but you don't really realize it because you got to keep trucking and you got to kind of find yourself. I feel for me personally, it didn't really affect me until later on. I kind of buried it, pardon the pun, but I kind of buried it and kept it inside and kept it deep inside. And I just, kind of kept going on with my life. But when you're 10, 11, 12, 15, and you come with struggles or you come with different obstacles in your life, you start to wonder and you start to question a lot of different things. For me personally, I was in a very dark place, and I talked about this a lot in my book, Chasing a Dream. I think this is the first time I really elaborated on it, and I really took people down this road that really defined me and kind of shaped me into the person I am, I guess. Along that journey for me and that trauma, I found basketball. Basketball for me was a love at an early age, and I think I just became obsessive, compulsive with the game and learning and just trying to be better. But I think the reason, when I look at it now and I have these speaking, I'm talking to groups and talking to kids, and I think actually from writing the book, I think the big reason was that basketball allowed me to be free. Basketball took me out of out of what I was dealing with every day. It kind of put me in an alternate life, an alternate situation, an alternate place where I was free and I was happy, and I could, for that few hours or however long I played that day or in a game, it just kind of took me away from all the troubles and things that were going on inside my head. For me, um, I think with any sport or anything you like to do, if you have success with it, you will stick with it. I try to teach kids. First, I try to teach them the love of the game and to love it. If you love doing and playing or doing certain thing, you will deal with the failures. You'll deal with the bumps and the bruises and the losses, and then you will fight harder and you'll work harder. So, basketball then took me. I wanted to give you kind of in-depth look of how it helped me at an early age. So I started to come around, I guess, when I was 14, 15. I was pretty good from a real small town. So when my parents died, I went to live with my aunt and uncle in Patrick's Cove, which is down on Route 100, about an hour and a half, hour, 45 minutes from St. John's. At the time, there was about 7,500 people in this little town, a little small fishing village. Now, 20 people there. So I started building a homemade hoop. You can see on the picture behind me. This was done by an artist and local artist, and it was auctioned off, raised money for a different group. But that was my local hoop there, and I grew up playing, and that's where I honed my skills. I'd play hours upon hours there. It didn't matter the weather, wind, rain, snow. I was there. I think, like I said, for that reason, to kind of get away from everything I was dealing with on a day to day. But that's where I became the person I am, the player I am. I played for Team Canada. My first time was in 2000, I believe, when I went away to school. But before that, when I was 16, I left and I went away to Ontario to try to get a college scholarship. So I was the best player around in Newfoundland, hands down, and still couldn't get some recruiting from elsewhere. Now you have to understand, at this time, there was no internet, there's no smartphone, so I'm a bit of a dinosaur in that sense. So it was very difficult to get noticed by these college schools. So there was a flyer came in the mail from when I played for Team Newfoundland, and it had on about a kid that got a scholarship up in a school in Ontario. And I told my aunt, I'm gonna go fishing this summer, and any money I make, I'm gonna put towards that. And I'm gonna go up there, and I'm gonna live with my brother up there, and I was gonna, just chase this dream. So she finally agreed, and we set it all up, and I went to school up there. So I came from a school that from kindergarten to 12 had, what do we have, about 220 kids, to a school that was like 4,000. So that was an eye opener, but I kind of felt like I was on a mission. I always felt that a lot of people around here doubted me at an early age, and I just set my dreams, and I set them larger in life, and I felt that hard work and dedication could take me anywhere. So I went up to St. Thomas Aquinas in Oakville, and I started my journey there. Unfortunately, the teachers went on strike, and I couldn't get to play basketball. So it was a bit of a bummer, because this was the only reason I went there. I felt I played basketball, and I was always a good student, but I was a good student because I wanted to play basketball, and I wanted to never have that hold me back. I didn't want to not be able to play because of bad grades. So I was at this school, and teachers were on strike, but the teachers were telling me every day, because they didn't want to transfer. So St. Thomas Aquinas on this corner, right at the stop sign, literally across the street, was a public school, and they were functioning as normal. But I went to a Catholic school, and the Catholic district teachers were on strike. So I was dealing with this, and I met one of our teachers put me in contact with another guy, and I just started playing AAU basketball there, which is comprised of different kids from areas, and you play all the way around. It was kind of outside the school system. And I played on a few different teams there, and we played in one big tournament in the middle of the year, North American Invitational, and a lot of schools came up from the States. Some big schools came up, and I played well, and I got some recognition and notice from some scouts down in the States, but it wasn't enough. So I decided to do I took my big VHS. I was actually talking to some kids last night, Canada Games group here from Newfoundland, and I asked them, did they know what a VHS was? And none of them had a clue. So anyway, I took my VHS camera. One of my friends went in and they got a highlight video of me in the gym, and I was dribbling and dunking and doing all the things that I thought would be noticed from a scout. And then at the end of that, I put a basketball game from when I was here in Newfoundland in grade 11. So I had a resume, and it was funny, yes, a resume with accolades on there like dunk competition and my SAT score and my qualities and things I liked and my height and weight. And I packaged this up and I went to the guidance counselor, and he got me the school addresses from the states of all the colleges or universities. And I picked about 100, 120. And I used to record. There was 6 recorders in our media room in school. So I would do 6 at a time, and it took about an hour, hour and a half to record. So I was pumping out, 6, 12, almost 20 videos a day if I get time. So I'd run from class, go back in, check my recordings, make sure they were good, and I'd get them ready and mail them all out. So it took a process over the course of a month, and I mailed them out to all these schools. So I was getting all this interest when people say the college coach would, when are you playing and things, and I could never get a date because the teachers were on strike. So, excuse me. So for me, it was another roadblock that I had to overcome. So I was at a crossroads where, like, okay, I left my family, my girlfriend at the time was my wife. I left everything I knew, my comfort zones, to go to Ontario to chase a dream. And this little hiccup with the teachers right now is messing up everything I'm trying to accomplish. So these U.S. schools will call me and be like, or email, whatever way, getting kind of, well, when can we see you play? And I'm like, well, the teachers are on strike. And then they kind of went and disappeared. So we end up went a whole year. And in June, I went to some basketball camps in the States. So a bunch of us got in a van with our coach up there. And we went down to New Jersey. And I wasn't noticed enough to go to the Nike camp or Adidas camp, but this one was called Atlantic Cape Camps. And I ended up being MVP of the camp. And in the All-Star game, it was going on the same time as these big ones, the big camps. So all the coaches came over to watch me play. So from that one camp, I probably got 30, 40 scholarship offers. Hawaii was one of these. I was ready to go to a prep school in the States because I didn't feel I was ready to make that jump. And personally, I was like, okay, well, I can't turn up going to Hawaii. I was like, I got to go to Hawaii. I got to go check this out. This is the first time, I'm not coming from much, and I might never get a chance to go to Hawaii. So I went out there just on a visit because you get 5 per year. So I was like, let's go to Hawaii. So I went out to Hawaii, and then I absolutely loved it. I love the coaches. I love the people. I love the island. And I personally couldn't pick a more further point from Newfoundland. So Newfoundland's the most northeastern point of Canada or North America, and I went to the most western. So for me, it was a long ways away from home. But this was the next step I felt along in my journey. From there, my first year, I had the red shirt. I had ankle surgery, and early in the season, I think in December. So the season started in November, but I ended up redshirting. I had surgery. I was having a lot of ankle troubles. So we got that out of the way, and we felt it was best that to give me a year to get used to school, give me a year to get bigger and stronger, and kind of get used to the time frame of managing everything that was going on. So we did that, came back and was training and preparing. So my next year, I was a true freshman, struggling a lot to find playing time with the coach. I was very inconsistent with the playing time. And I was in a bad place because a lot of rules and regulations. I mean, I'm out in school and not a lot of money, and you couldn't receive a lot of the things or Pell Grants that the American students could receive. And, most of my money, I think we lived on $120. Now they give you the meals and things like that. But, play money, I call it. And we didn't have time to work a job really because you're all the time practicing it in school. So you're living off this, and to be honest, most of my money was going towards phone cards to just call my family at home. I used to try to sneak into to the stadium and go to the media office and use the phones there and hope for a dial tone just to, just to call your family. So, because you were all by yourself, there were some lonely times. I went through the rest of that season, and up and down towards probably the last 10 games, the coach finally gave me a chance, and I kind of excelled with it because I was ready. And we went into the WAC tournament. We were seventh place going in out of 8 teams, and we ended up winning the WAC tournament. And in the championship game, I scored points to put it into overtime, and then all our overtime points. I ended up finishing with 30, I believe, and I got MVP of the tournament as a freshman. So at that point, my whole life changed and changed for the better. I went from nobody knowing who I was to the big man on campus, to agents calling, to pro NBA stuff. People were starting to get to notice me, and my whole life changed on campus as well. Let's just say there was a lot more people helping me and making sure that I was comfortable now that I kind of proved myself. My next 2 years as a sophomore, had a great year, averaged 17 points a game, and a lot of people said that I probably should have entered the NBA draft at that point, but I personally felt I wasn't ready. I felt at that point it didn't feel like it was reality to me yet. It felt as if I was still on the path of getting my college education. So I went back for my junior year. Again, we made the tournament each of my years, and I led the conference in scoring that year and kind of blew up, and I was pretty high on draft boards. The big thing for me was in my junior year, I graduated. I got a sports management degree and a minor in business marketing and communications. So for me, that was a big goal of mine, and basketball played a huge part in that because I probably wouldn't have been able to go to college without it. So for me, I felt that was an accomplishment. I set out, and then I was ready to make my next step. Now, this is where it gets tricky because I have my senior year of eligibility left, but I feel, or the people in my corner that I trusted, I felt they felt I should enter the NBA. Now, on draft boards, the highest I was 21. The lowest I was in the 40s. So that being said, you'd be a second round pick, which would have been great. I think what we're talking about with MentorAbility and stuff is you can always have people in your corner that are always there for your best interest, that are always there for you, for your family, and there's really no invested interest for them. Or you can have it the opposite, where they are there for you, but you don't know that they have other intentions as well, and they're in it for them. And when you're dealing with a professional athlete, that happens a lot more than the other case. So you get more caught up in a mix of who can I trust. So when I spoke to Ashley on what to talk about and what the whole gist of was, I told her I could bring a very unique conversation to the table, because there's a lot of people out there that are not for your best interest. They might act like they are, and they're not. So anyway, let's get back to the story, but just keep that in mind. So I had some people there that I worked with when I initially went to Toronto, and they were going to represent me as agents as well. Again, me being from a small town, and I think dealing with what I dealt with at such an early age, I became a trusting person, and I trusted the wrong people, not knowing what their interests were. And even to this day, I'm still very trustworthy. I think it's a small town mentality. Like when things went wrong in our town, everybody was around to help you. Everybody was around to help you if you had a leak in your roof, or something happened to your car, or something happened to your ATV. It's like there was always someone around to give a hand. And I kind of was brought up that way, and that allowed me to probably trust when I probably shouldn't have been trusting. So anyway, I was at the stage where I had to decide to go either enter the NBA or return back to school. So the people that were in my corner were pushing and pushing and pushing that you got to enter. And I'm sure they had some good intentions, but not knowing what the outcome would be, I felt I had to kind of go with these people and their gut and what they felt, because two reasons. I already graduated, so I felt I've reached that goal. I was kind of ready to get on with my life with the next step. And obviously playing the NBA was a dream of mine since I was a little kid. So I was like, let's do it. And I didn't have the outlets that are there now. I didn't have these type of network set up that you could actually get some good, honest advice. So we end up entering the NBA draft, and once you enter, you can't go back to school. So once you enter and commit to the NBA draft, you're done. Then you forfeit your amateur status, and now you become a professional. So I entered the draft, and I ended up going undrafted. So that night was probably one of the toughest of my basketball career, because my agent set up a party at Indian Motorcycle downtown, and there was probably, I'd say, a good 100 people there, but a lot of them were my real close friends and family. But then there was about 30 media stations all across the country, and they ranged from everywhere, because I was like the next big thing, the next Steve Nash, the next big thing. So for 60 picks, the cameras will come on and bright lights are shining and they're coming at me. And I'm just there, like someone just picked me off. So my heart is slowly breaking. Like it was a slow fight that you're going through. And it's just every 2 minutes there was a pick, or every 4 minutes. First round, I think it's every 4 minutes, teams around the clock. And then the second round, it's 2 minutes. So over that course of time, it was like I was living like another slow nightmare. And, you know, it was, I guess, once you reflect back on it now, I think the biggest thing is that I had a year of eligibility left. And if I had to make the right decisions or have the right people there in my corner that could, you know, assess the situation a lot better than me, or the people I was dealing with, we could have made some different choices. Now, that doesn't say that the following year I was going to get drafted. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it should increase my stock, or who knows what would have happened. But having that option there and you fail, you look like an idiot and you feel like an idiot. So for me, I went through that night, and like I said, it was probably the lowest point in my whole career, basketball wise. And I felt I had no other way now but to just keep fighting and work harder. So I got back to training the next day. I met with these people and kind of, you know, was basically, let's get it together and fix this as quick as possible. So within 2 weeks, I went to Indiana and I did a mini camp there. And I played really well, but I kind of had this chip on my shoulder because they should have been a team that drafted me. And after the mini camp, I talked to the president, and, you know, he was like, we really like you. And I kind of, like I said, I had a chip on my shoulder. I was like, I understand all that, sir, but, you know, I'm heading to Minnesota now. If you want me, sign me and I'll come back. And he said, yeah, we want you. And Monday morning, they signed me to a 2-year contract. It was partial guarantees in the first year and a lot more money in the second year. But for me, it was the most money I've ever seen in my life. So I felt I was on the right path, and I felt, okay, here's my chance. So the big thing was when I entered the draft and not getting drafted, I had about $3 million in endorsements from anywhere from Air Canada to General Motors to General Mills. Like all these big Canadian companies were kind of on the bandwagon, but it was all stipulated on me making the NBA. So they kind of got rolled over. So they kind of got off the table when I went undrafted, but then they got rolled over if I made the team in after training camp. So I went to training camp with Indiana. Things started off real well. Then they made some changes. They fired their coach in preseason and brought in a new coach, and he brought in 3 players with him and signed another. So we went from having like 13 guaranteed contracts to 18. So it comes down to numbers, and someone's got to go. And I was one of the guys that got released. So from there, I went to the NBDL. I played 2 years there because I had the money from the Pacers, so it allowed me to take the little bit of money that they give us plus the money I was getting, and I was great, so I was good. That was a bit of a roller coaster. My second year, I was right at the end of the season, and Orlando really liked me, and they called me, and me and my agent were about to meet, and I was on the way to the airport. They wanted to sign me for the rest of the season. And when I got to the airport, they called again after sending me my ticket, everything. And when we get there, they call and said, no, we got to keep reviewing you. A big man just went down in practice, so we can't sign you. So I was done with that kind of roller coaster every week. You know, you're going to every gym, you're being scouted. There was a lot of pressure, just the ups and downs, and just trying to figure it out. So I was like, let's go over to Europe, because you can make a substantial living in Europe and you get to see the world. But it was further away from my dream of playing the NBA. So I'll briefly take you guys through the European thing, and then I'll talk on some of my main mentors that I still keep in contact, and then just sum it all up. But I started my first year off in Italy. We went to Virtus Bologna. Very different when you're going, at that point, when you're going to a country where you don't speak the language, you don't understand the food and different things, and now you got a whole different team. And it was a very big eye opener for me. And I think I still had the issues of dealing with the failure of not making the NBA, and I had that chip on my shoulder, but I still felt like everybody was against me in a sense. And I felt that I had to kind of get over that and understand where I am and understand that this is amazing. So it took me that whole year to kind of find myself, find my game again, and get back at it. So my following year, I went to Croatia. I went to a little town called Zadar. It's on the Adriatic Sea, and beautiful little village. A lot of history. And it was funny, when my agent approached me with the deal, the money and things were great, but I was like, where the hell am I going to? And I remember my wife, this was the first year my wife came with me. She was done school and she came. And we were like, I remember we were searching on the internet, like, where in the hell where are we going? But anyway, it was one of the best places we played. I was coached by Drazen Petrovic's brother. I ended up leading that league in scoring. We won the league. We lost in another league that we played in, but I was MVP of that league. And I kind of started to embellish myself into their culture, into their language, into their city, and everything that made them and their ideas of what they felt basketball was all about. And I think once I done that, I started having a lot more success. So I went in, I had a bunch of offers. I had some NBA interest as well, but it wasn't concrete enough. There was no guaranteed money. So, you know, I'm making legit money in Europe now, that if I go back to the NBA, I'll take a pay cut, which I was fine to do. It wasn't ever about the money, but for me, it was more about, if they really wanted me, give me some guarantees in my contract, and they weren't willing to do that. So I went to Spain. I spent 2 years in Gran Canaria, which is an island off the coast of Africa and Spain. Beautiful little island, passionate about basketball. I had my son there. From there, I went to Victoria, which is northern Spain, close to France, in Basque Country. I had my daughter there, but we had a powerhouse of a team there, and we won an NBA champion, or not NBA, an ACB championship there. So the thing with Spain was, I had to jump on the opportunity to go to Spain, because Spain is the closest league to the NBA. It's where all the best players go, and it's the most stable. Country's beautiful, food is great, and you're safe. Your family's safe. So I played 10 years in there. So I went 2 years Gran Canaria. I went up to Baskonia in Victoria. Then I went to Barcelona. I went back to Tenerife, Madrid, Sevilla. I went all over Spain. In 2012, I was in Madrid playing for Estudiantes, and having the best year of my career. I was leading that league in scoring. And to give you kind of an idea, if you lead that league in scoring, two options for the last 10 years, players either went directly to the NBA or they signed a multi-million-dollar contract. So this is where I was at, and right with about 5 games left in the season, I messed up my shoulder. I tore my AC clavicular and busted up my shoulder on a screen. So it was very difficult to deal with, because at this point I had some bad injuries in 2010 with my wrist and my ankle. So at this point I'm on 5 surgeries, and people are starting to question my health. I came back from that just to show people I was healthy. And the last game of the season, to practice the night before. So I just wanted to play one game so I'd be a free agent, and that they'd see me be healthy going into the summertime. And the night before I went up for a dunk, and when I landed, I compressed my spine and I herniated 2 discs in my back, and I couldn't play. But about a month later, my whole leg, it was pinching a nerve in my leg and it shut down my whole leg. So it took me months to regain that one. So I was with Team Canada, I was training with them, and I ended up doing another bad injury. I tore my tricep. So in the course of 6 months, I had 3 career-ending injuries. And I would say, from a mental standpoint, I think because of all the things I dealt with as a kid, I always understood that basketball was just a game, but now has become my life and my livelihood. So I think the things that I dealt with my parents allowed me to handle any situation that was ever thrown at me, and will allow me to handle any situation, I feel. Um, the thing that was really hard about that is I had some massive contracts on the table that now I can't sign, that would have set me up for a long time. And I also had some NBA options. So it seems like every time I got close, something bad was happening. And I'm not here looking for pity or nothing. I'm just trying to get you guys to paint a picture of my story and where I come from. Now, this is the other part when I talk about, even though my agents, very close with their agent. So in a sense that they're like a mentor, because they know the market inside and out. They know your value. They know the teams that are looking for players like yourself. They know different things. And I had a couple of different agents. I had the agent that, like I said, that screwed me with the NBA. So I got rid of them a few months later. Then I had another agent. I was with him for a year. And I went into my third agent, and then they represented me my whole rest of my career, the next 15 years. Now, the thing with that is, if I had to have this agent in the beginning, I probably would have never went on that road, and I probably would have played 15 years in the NBA, because those people are well connected. They set you up in the right place. Like, one of the first things he told me about is like, I still can't believe you got screwed in the draft. He said, I would have known exactly where you were going and told you to take your ass back to school. So, so when you go through these things and you live them, it gives you an idea of who you can trust and who you can't trust. In professional sports, again, it becomes very tangly, whereas you're in a situation where you don't know who to trust, because everybody kind of have ways that they can make money from you, or ways that they can use your image and different things to benefit themselves. So you kind of come to a place where you're guarded. Now, luckily for me, I have my wife from high school, and we got married early when I was 25. So I didn't have to worry about that. But I had a lot of players that, could never find happiness because they could never trust anybody, because people just see you and see dollar signs. So that's very scary in a business like that, because you never know if it's true love or people are just, using you for the wrong reasons. After my injuries, I got back towards the end of the year, and I spent 2 months in Tenerife. It's another island off the coast of Spain. From there, then I went to Puerto Rico. I played a few months there. Then my next stint was in Greece. I went to Athens, beautiful city. I played with Ike, very big club there. I played for a year there and led the league in scoring. My following year, after Ike puts me back in Tenerife, and then I got bought out and I went back to Alba. I went to Alba Berlin in Germany. So I've been kind of all around the world. Now, transition part from there was I had options to go back to Greece. Things didn't work out, but there was a team that came to Newfoundland in the NBL of Canada. And I never thought there'd be a basketball team in my backyard, because now it allows me and my family to live in our house and drive your own car, and my kids to not have to leave their friends and go to school here and not have to worry about the language barriers and all the things that, I dealt with for the last 10 years. So that became a good option for me and my family, and I decided to do it. I'll take you just on a little bit of this of what it meant. So the Wednesday that I signed, before I signed, they were after selling like 600 tickets, and it wasn't really popular. There was a lot of buzz around if they were going to get me, if they were not going to get me. And I think in this area, before I came back home, the only time people really saw me is when I played for Team Canada. So they'd see me on TV, and it was kind of like I was like a ghost to everybody. So I signed on a Wednesday. By Friday, they were almost sold out. So obviously the owners of the team were happy. I went on, my first game was Friday. So I had 1 day of practice on Thursday, and we were in PEI and struggling most of the game. And coach draws up a play. We're down by 2, and he drew up a play, and I was like, no, we're not going to do that. I was like, just give me the ball, come off this here. And I kind of drew up the play, and he's like, all right. He knew, he felt I was confident. Some of my own teammates were looking at me like, who the hell is this guy? So I go out there, and this guy from the other team is coming out. He's banging on his chest. And he's like, I'm going to lock you up, blah, blah, blah. So I looked at him and the referee, and I kind of told him what I was going to do. So I did the move. We had drawn up, and I hit the shot, and all the people on the front row, even though they were opposing, they were like, he just told them he did that. And this kind of like legend started. And then the following game, I followed that up with like a 36 and then a 38. And then all this was building to when I returned home. So I've played, you have to understand, in Spain, I was playing in front of an average of anywhere from 15 to 20,000. I've played in front of 80,000 people when I was in college. And when I played for Team Canada, I'm in Dominican or Puerto Rico, and you're playing against 25,000 that are, throwing coins at you and anything, in a very hostile environment. But I've never been as nervous playing in front of the crowd that night, because I felt I knew 2,000 or 3,000 of them. I seen them at the stores, or some way we were connected from childhood or whatever. And I just felt all this sense of accountability, which I never felt I played with before. So lo and behold, I went out and had a monster first quarter and scored like 18 in the first quarter, but I was yelling and screaming, and I used all that energy in the wrong way that I never done before. And then I just crashed and regained some more energy in the fourth quarter, and we won. And then the following night, we followed that up and had a monster game, and I felt we took the whole city by storm. But the biggest part of me coming home, it gave me a platform to help people. It gave me a platform to help Special Olympics. It gave me a platform to help the youth in our community, not only Newfoundland, but across Canada. It gave me a platform to now I have time, and I wrote my book, which I feel it's not just a basketball story. It's a life story on, just overcoming tragedy and just rising and having that strength to just rise and never being afraid. So I played for Team Canada for almost 15 years. It was some of the most amazing times when you're representing your country and playing the game of basketball. So you develop this brotherhood, and you're fighting for a common goal, and you're fighting for your country. But I also was fighting for Newfoundland, because I'm the only Newfoundlander ever played for Team Canada. And I was the captain for like 8-9 years. So, I played an immense role in the success and trying to bring our country's basketball to a new level. And in 2010, we made the Worlds, which was the first time in almost a decade from Steve Nash. And, it just felt like a bit of weight was lifted off, and you felt like you were special, or part of a special team, and part of something that, change was happening. And, right now in the NBA, we have, aside from America, the country with most players is from Canada. So the future is bright, and I felt I've had a little part to do with that, and recognition, and kids growing up and seeing me play and be like, I want to be better than that guy. So I felt, combine that with coming home and playing for the Edge, it allowed me that platform I was talking about to really just help people and help the youth to understand, because I feel we can look at everything as an excuse. Oh, I can't do that because of this, or I have this, I have that. I had a lot of setbacks. I'm not going to lie to you. I had a lot of roadblocks. I had a lot of things that would have stopped the average person. And a kid asked me yesterday, what was your greatest accomplishment in basketball? I think my greatest accomplishment in basketball was the fact that I made it out from a town of 50 people playing on the side of the road, and probably having one of the greatest Canadian careers ever. And just the fact of getting a college scholarship and getting an education all through basketball, and the places that has taken me all around the world, I think that's my greatest accomplishment. It's not the wins and losses and the trophies and the money and different things that come with that. It was the fact that I never give up, and I fought my way to somewhere that I never should have accomplished, but I set my mind to doing it, and I proved a lot of people wrong along the way. So the big part for me is, with everything that's out there now, there's a lot of good people. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of good people, but do your homework. And if anybody's trying to help, you kind of got to be a little bit on the sense you just can't trust anybody, right? So you got to do your homework. Have your parents, have your guardians, have different staff if you can. Have them do your homework on what the initiative is and what's the reason. It's just a little bit of back work, check. And, I would do that because throughout my career, I've trusted a lot of people that cost me a lot of different things, a lot of money, a lot of different sponsorships. And it was all because I trusted the wrong people. Now I've had some good people. I've had a high school coach that taught me since I was in grade 1 or 2, and then coached me right up through my ranks. And I always count on him, and I'm there for him as well, but I always count on him for a little bit of advice here and there. That'd be Gord Pike. And he works with the Special Olympics now in Placentia, but he was the principal, and, hell of a man in the sense of was always there for my best interest. So even with my decision to come back to Newfoundland to play ball, like, he was one of the main guys that, when I talked to, I felt my brothers were always there for me. Always here and have my back. And I feel a mentor is not always someone that's telling you what to do or giving you advice. There's someone there that's just listening and just have your back, even if things don't go as planned. Like, I've had a lot of people like that in my corner that have always been there to pick me up. And I feel they go a long ways, because it's so easy for people to turn their back on you when things don't go as the way it's planned or things hit a roadblock. Easiest thing to do in life is quit. The hardest thing to do is to keep fighting and keep fighting to get to the top. And that's all I know, and that's all I try to preach. So for me, it's a journey, and I had to learn later on that every bit of it counts. It's not just like the end result is the only thing. No, it's the steps along the way. It's the roadblocks, it's the failures, it's the successes, it's the people you meet, and all that summed up into the journey. And that's the rewarding part in the end. It's not, like I said, it's not the championships you won, or it's not the money that you gain. All those things obviously are great, and you need those things, or, they help you survive. But for me, it's the journey and the process that makes you whole in the end. So I know, I'm not sure how we are on time, Ashley. I know you have some questions and different things there you have for me, or if there was any feedback along the way, if there's something else you guys need me to touch on, we can gladly go over those.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Carl. Your story is truly inspiring, and you really bring an important point to the table in regards to ensuring, that your mentors and the people that you're looking up to throughout your career make sure that their intentions are good ones and that they're really there for you, right?
Yeah.
I have a question for you, actually. We all kind of experience a point in our lives where we feel maybe lost or a little bit overwhelmed with the challenges we're faced with in order to pursue our own dreams and our own career goals. If you could give advice to somebody who's feeling this way right now, what would you say to them?
I think the biggest thing is to understand that you're not the only person. I think we all are in a situation where we're fighting our own battle. I've learned a long time ago to never judge the person in front of me, because I feel everybody's fighting their own battle.
Absolutely.
Nobody's full of just, oh, my day is all roses and oh, my life is perfect. I hope and pray there's people out there like that, but if you're anything like me and my wife and my family, you're going to have hiccups. You're going to have days. I think what gets us through those days is I think you got to believe in yourself. I think you got to find the beauty and the strength inside of who you are as a person that makes you whole. Like, nobody's perfect. If anybody thinks they are, obviously they haven't looked in the mirror. I feel nobody's perfect, but I feel everybody's special and unique. And I feel they always have something good to offer. I feel the best people and your best friends and the people around you, and even a mentor, those people will get the best out of you. If they're not getting the best out of you, they're doing you unjust, because everybody has something unique that they can bring to the table. I love to get feedback from multiple people. And in the end, I use all that feedback to make a decision, because everybody sees it different. Everybody could look at a picture and see 10 different things, you know what I mean, than what I saw. But it's not saying that they're right and I'm wrong, but I take all that information, put it together, and collectively make a decision. When you look at someone with their day and you're struggling, know that you're not the only person. Know that you're not alone. Know that everybody wakes up and are dealing with, oh, laundry's backed up, and oh, I had a bad cut, whatever it is, the little things, and realize that's just minor things. And they're minor things in the bigger scheme of things. And at the end of the day, when you look at the mirror and you look at yourself, you have to realize that you have a lot of good inside and you have a lot of things that you can offer the world. And I feel when people do that, they will see a lot more positive things and they'll feel a lot more better about who they are as a person and what they can bring to the table. Because at the end of the day, I feel everybody's battling with something. Now, it mightn't be what I went through, and you might have went through something that's way worse than me. I don't know. But I take the lane and the sight of saying, if I look like I meet you today, I don't know you, but I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to, and I try to find the good because I don't know what your day was like. I don't know what you're dealing with this past week. And I feel that us as a people, if we do that, we'll be a lot more kinder to each other and we'll be a lot more understanding and we'll just see the good in everybody. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Thank you, Carl.
You're welcome.
I'm going to open up the chat box now. So if you guys have any questions or comments, please feel free to type your message in the chat box here. We'll stick around for a few minutes. Angela wanted to say to you, Carl, thank you so much for sharing your story. It is super inspiring.
Oh, thank you so much. It was definitely my pleasure. Like I said, it's very difficult to talk to the computer. I would love to talk to the people and just see their face and then kind of put them on the spot and be like, what are you thinking? But I know it's all part of it, of what we're dealing with now. And I know for a lot of people, especially our young kids, that right now is a very difficult time with COVID. And I feel it's affecting everybody and everybody differently. I see how my kids and how they're trying to play with their friends, and I see how it affects my wife and myself. But again, like I said, I use COVID as a way for me to get closer with my family. I use it as a way for me to wake up now, and for me, it kind of slowed my life down, which was great, and kind of blocked off the rest of the world. And all I had to do was me and my 3 kids and my wife. And we had an exercise regimen. I was actually trying to teach him some things. There were different things there that we were doing, and I took it to the fullest. I didn't let it get me down, and I hope that there's a lot of people out there had the same experience that I did.
Yeah, for sure. Angela also said she's going to share your story with her youth in her own program. So that's great. If you're okay with it, Carl, too, I can give them your email for them to reach out to you if they're interested in reaching out to you for speaking or anything like that. I'll put it here in the chat box.
All right.
Just 1 second there now.
Send it to the team one, and we have representatives that'll handle that, and we'll go through there.
Yeah.
And we'll through them, and whatever we can do to make it all work.
Absolutely. Here we go. I'm just pasting that in here to the chat box for you guys. Is there any other questions or comments you guys would like to ask myself or Carl while we're here today?
Really different when you have to do it this way, huh?
I know, right?
You're like,
So Lloyd said, if you could go back, would you choose a different university or another university?
Well, knowing now, probably, because when I chose Hawaii, I don't know if I had a lot of self-doubt, but I didn't believe in the fact of playing pro was an option. So when I chose Hawaii because of the situation, coaches, and different things. But again, knowing what I know now, when you're trying to get recruited, it's better to be in the bigger conference, in the ACC or the Pac-10, because now you're in front of all the scouts all the time because they're the teams that they watch. So for me, getting recruited or getting scouted was only happened when I went on the road or when we were at the tournament. Whereas if I played, like I was supposed to go to a prep school and then go to Syracuse. Well, if I had to go to Syracuse, well, you're in front of scouts every night and they can see you. And the more people that see you, the better chance it is of getting drafted or increasing your stock. So those things will be an option, knowing what I know now. But at the same point, I had an amazing time there. Love the people, love the island. So it's tough to change that as well.
Mhm. Angela also said, can we have your Facebook and Instagram? Yes, I'll put it up on the screen in a moment, actually.
Great.
Oh, Lloyd also had another question for you. He said, what advice would you give to youth coming up in regards to agents?
The best thing I always found with agents is if the youth is talented, every agent's kind of going to want you. That's just agents are, you can find some good ones, but they are flies on meat as well. And they are like a car salesman. So they're very good at that. I feel the best thing you can do is look, if you can, if the player is good enough, you can talk to players that they represent. Usually you're going to get the honest opinion from the players versus the agent. The agent's going to tell you everything you want to hear. It's kind of like the college coach. It's kind of like someone that's, trying to sell themselves, which they are. I mean, agents make a fair percentage off your contract. So the more research you can do, and the clients, it's not always necessary to go with the agent that has the most clients because they mightn't find time for you. And then a lot of times you're just dealing with what we call their runner. So their assistant, and you're never really getting to the big dog that helps make the decisions. So it's a decision that's very crucial to the youth and the player. It's not an easy one. So you got to do as much research as you possibly can to make sure you're selecting the right one. And they'll all, if the player's good enough, they'll all want to bend over and help you out as much as they want and do whatever they can. But you have to be careful of what they're selling. So if you can talk to previous clients or you can talk to other players they represent, you'll know once you get that.
Thanks, Carl. I'm just going to put in your Facebook and Instagram here in the chat box as well. I think Lynn Hughes raised her hand. So Lynn, I'm going to allow you to speak now so you can ask your question. Okay. Okay. We'll move on to the other question while we're waiting as well. So Zoe said, can you tell us a bit more about what you were teaching your kids? Have any of them mastered their fadeaway at this point? Have you ever considered coaching when playing will no longer be an option?
It's very difficult. I struggle with my son because he's extremely talented, but he's missing the one thing that I feel is the most important, and that's the hard work. I'm hoping he's only 11. I'm hoping it'll come, but it's a different time and it's a different age because there's so much more things in front of him that I didn't have. And right now he's currently playing basketball, hockey, and soccer, and he's kind of all-star level in all three. So everything that I've learned and from people I know, like Steve Nash and these guys, multi-sport is great for the kids' development. So I will keep him in as many sports as possible until he's about 14 or 15 when he really has to concentrate on one. Because I feel multi-sport is great, but then if you're doing 2 hours each day at one instead of 6 hours at one, well, obviously time will tell. I think it's difficult as well for me as his father because, you have high expectations. Now he's also in a difficult situation because I'm his father. So he goes into a situation, and especially in Newfoundland, which is very small, where he's like, oh, that's Carl English's son. And, so I'm sure there's added pressure on him there. So I'm trying to navigate through it as much as possible. I do not force things on them, but I have been a very strict athlete in how I approach things. And I kind of expect the same from them. And sometimes I can be a little strict as well in the sense of, you got to train every day and hard work beats anything else. And these are the things that will succeed. It doesn't matter, the shoes you have or what, so I'm always learning and teaching him different things that hopefully in the end just makes him a better person. If he plays sports, great. But in the end, if he's a great person, I'll be extremely happy. So I know that he has challenges because I'm his father. So I know there's things there. But I think the biggest thing is I'm hard, I'm strict, I'm difficult at times. But in the end, I give them more love than hopefully they can ever need. So I try to be that loving dad as well.
Thanks, Carl. Is there any other questions or comments from anybody? It certainly is different, hey, doing it online. I miss having events like in person.
Yeah,
A lot more, you know.
exactly. We'd be out in the front now, and they just raise their hand, and they,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, it'd be a little bit different, but
Yeah.
it's fine.
Oh, Michelle said, no question, just a comment. It's been really insightful. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
Michelle.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. I think that's it then. So thank you so much, Carl. This was awesome. We really appreciate you joining us today. We had another comment there as well. A great session. Thank you so much. It's a lot of people really found a lot of value in it.
Awesome. Thank you, Ashley, for approaching me. And like I said, anything I can do to help is awesome. And hopefully my story was inspiring. And if not, anyway, I hope I didn't waste your time.
It certainly inspired me. I had goosebumps listening to you speak earlier.
So much, and send me the links when you have them. I'll share them on my social media or whatever if anybody needs me, and we'll go from there. And I wish you guys all the best.
You too. Take care. Bye.